My name's Harfleet and we're going to do a workshop and it's going to be about drawing birds. And this session is part of the Summer Reading Challenge organised by the Arts and Libraries teams from St Helens Borough Council. For more information, check out the links to videos and resources in the description below. What you're going to need is paper, pencil, pen. Yeah, paper, pencil, pen. You get that, make sure you're ready, and then we can begin. So we're going to be learning about birds and drawing and feathers and all that sort of thing. But before we do all of that stuff, we're going to do a drawing exercise. This is just to get you used to the paper and the pencil or pen that you're drawing with. So what I'd like you to do is get your page of paper in front of you, and like I'm doing now, put your pen in the middle and then just move the pen around the page just to get used to it. Just do this with the pencil pen, tilt it on its side, make some different sorts of marks, any kind of marks you like, just checking. It's all fun, there's no need, there's no kind of, it's just get used to the nib or the lead, depending on what you're working with, and the paper and how that works. It's going to be important later. Okay, so that's all, that's fine. Then we get another page, or you can turn the other one over and do the same thing again. Put your pen or pencil in the middle of the page, and now close your eyes and do the same thing again. I'm closing them with you just to make it easier. So just make any different marks you like, but now go faster. Faster, 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 as fast as you possibly can. Try not to wobble too much to wobble the camera. Make lots of different marks. So we're just getting used to it. Just feeling that, the scratchiness of the paper, depending on what kind of paper you're using. Don't press too hard in case you rip it, depending on the quality of the paper you're using. Okay, stop. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so then we can compare those two. You can see there's some more freedom in the second one. No real need to worry about that at all. It's just a nice exercise. You can kind of see how they're similar. That's just to get you used to the pencil. So now that's happened, we're ready to begin the technical bit. So, in lockdown, what I was doing, I was here in my flat, looking over the London skyline and realising that there was all I could really see were the birds flying around, and it made me realise how much I wanted to be those birds. So I just started drawing them, and it was very peaceful, it was very relaxing. I felt it really got a calming experience, and I've drawn birds for my book, Pansy Boy, which you can get from some libraries in St Helens, and here it is. It looks like this. And there's plenty in the libraries, I was there. Anyway, back to the birds. There's birds in the book, you see, which is why I was able to draw them so nicely. And then I asked my followers what birds they'd like me to draw. So that was what I did. So I drew lots of birds. I'm nearly up to 40. They take quite a long time, they're quite detailed. We're not going to go into that much detail that you see here, but it should lead you on your way. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn about drawing feathers, which all birds have, whether they can fly or not, they all have feathers. Fun fact, a swan has more than 25,000 feathers all over its body. Well, I say all over, it's not on its beak or feet. Amazing. And a robin or a song thrush may only have 3,000. So it's really, they're an amazing thing, feathers. And so we're going to draw those because a feather is part of a bird, and if you know how to draw a feather, you're closer to drawing a whole entire bird. So this is what we're going to do. I've got my pen. I'm going to use a thick pen, which isn't what I would normally use, but so you can see it on this other screen here, which is just so modern. What we're going to do is we're going to draw a feather. I'm going to use an image of a feather for reference. You can also do that, or maybe you have a feather lying around. They're very good things. I've got a feather in this amazing book called Book of British Birds. I believe it's in lots and lots of libraries. It's really worth looking. It's got loads and loads of really interesting facts about birds and how they fly and where they go and how all of that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I'm going to draw a feather and you are going to do one too. Get your paper in front of you, get your pen close to the bottom of the page. Are you seeing my finger? Yeah. And we're going to just do one line like this. That's one line. If it's a pencil or a pen, it's fine. This is, we're drawing the shaft, what they call the shaft of the feather now. We're going to do another line next to that. Try and make it go close to the end here. So it's heavier here at the base of the feather, and then it kind of feathers off into a tiny point. Then, sort of here, you do these bits. This is called the vein of the feather. We're going to do a line like this that goes from the shaft area of the feather all the way to here. And what you want to do is kind of go around to this point. Doesn't matter too much about the details, but then, so we're going to go here like that. Oh, my mark was a bit funny, but that doesn't matter because you can just fill it in. But that's a pencil, a pen issue. So then we have the tip. I don't mind mistakes. I think it's fine. And if you're using pencil, you can rub them out. So this is the finer, this is a primary feather, by the way. These are the ones that are on the end of their wings, which will help them fly. This side is going to be the thicker side, and we're drawing the shape of the barbs. We'll talk about that in a bit more detail in a minute. So now I've gone further out, and I'm going to go this, sort of that direction. This is what you're going to do. So we're going to do a quick line. There we go. Now to me that looks like a feather. The fun thing that I like to do at this point is draw the barbs. Now this, a barb, I'm using a finer pen. You can sharpen your pencil or use a finer pen. The barbs are the sort of filaments that come from the shaft of the feather to the edge, and they have little cones that kind of lock together, which are an amazingly useful thing for a bird. So then all I do is I take the tip of the pen and I bring it here and I do this, and I do it again and again and again. Can you see? I think you can. And it's just again and again and again. I might speed this bit up. So you're trying to get, don't worry about that. You're trying to get this evenly, these lines evenly dispersed all the way along. And if it's not perfectly even, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake. So we're just going up and up and up. Look how quickly I'm doing it. It's really quite quick. So there we have it. There is a feather. And here at the edge, you can also join these up. This kind of gives it some depth and makes it look a bit more complicated. So you do the same thing there, take it to the edge, but you're lifting the pen or pencil from the page ever so slightly. So you're going up at an angle. So you're not going, it's just out, 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 like that. And this gives it some depth. And I have done this so many times over the last few weeks. And this is looking very much like a feather. And we can do that here too. This is making it, this is giving it a bit more depth. So you're just using very simple marks that aren't really very difficult to do at all. It's just the repetition. And then you might want to do, because there's a bit here, do a fine line in between. That just gives it even more depth. I like it. So now we can add some colour. I've drawn this from a book on feathers generally, but I'm going to colour this feather now, and you can do the same. I'm using for reference a kingfisher as the colour. So in front of me have got an image of kingfisher feathers, and I can see that they are blue. I've got a selection here of pencils. They're greens and turquoises, just like the feathers of a kingfisher. I'll share the image on the video. And I'm gonna just kind of, there we go. Can you see? Can you see them? They're just here, there, just as bright. But we can use pencils or pens, but I find pencils a bit more forgiving than felt tips, but it's completely up to you, whatever you like. So I'm looking at the kingfisher feather, which you will also be seeing. So I'm seeing that this one, I'm going to focus on the one that I want to colour in. So it's not exactly the same shape, but that doesn't really matter. So we're just going to use the same sort of thing. I'm going really quickly. The same action. So I'm even going over the edge, which I don't think really matters. The same action that we were doing on the barbs. Do you remember the barbs? And I'm giving it a bit more of a space, because what I want to try and do with this is capture some of the iridescence that these feathers have. So now I'm going to use a green, and I'm going to kind of mix it here in between, and that helps build up the colour. And that is already looking super nice. And there's another thing, these are all different types. This is an even paler green. So, and now I'm looking at that, I'm always looking. This is already looking super nice. So I'm just then mixing it around, and then where there's some iridescence, I'm pressing hard to get some of that colour really nice and rich and intense. This is a darker blue that I'm going to use for the middle, just here. And remember, I'm following the lines that I've done already. So this is darker, this side of the feather that we're drawing. I don't want to move this, but it's a bit tricky for me to do this bit. So I'm going to follow the lines that I've done. Can you see still? Yeah. It's already looking super nice. And that's a bit darker there. Where are we? Oh, because there's a lot of brown down here, and I'm just going to add this at the base. Now you're beginning to see where I'm using colour to intensify the depth. Just to give it some depth and some contrast, I'm going to go back to my thick pen, and I'm going to go over the pencil. So we're doing mixed media really. So we're going over the pencil, and we're going to make this scene even darker right here. You might, oh, look at that, that's nice. So be careful, if you've used pencil, you might smudge it at this point. So I'm going to go round here. I'm blowing the excess away. There we go, there. I think we could say that that's a complete feather. Just might want to just make this slightly paler here. Or actually darker, browner I'm saying. Oops, see, I've made a mark. Okay, so there we have a feather. It's colour, it's bright. It's a kingfisher-ish kind of feather because I've used the colour, but this is us understanding what a feather is. So remember, this area here is called the shaft. This is the vein. These elements that I've referenced here are the barbs. So we've learned lots about a feather, I think. As you know, as I've told you, I've drawn almost 40 birds in lockdown. And what I thought would be fun is just to give you a few quick tips about how to draw a kingfisher, because we've been looking at the feathers. This is a book I've had for a very, very long time. My auntie bought it for me in 1984, which is such a long time ago. And you can get books like this in most libraries, and they're really handy little books if you're interested in nature at all, just to get you out there and start to examine the birds around you and to start identifying them. That's one of the funnest things about starting to learn ornithology, is the technical term. So we're going to focus on the kingfisher because we've been looking at the feathers. And I'm just going to give you a few very quick tips, because in here there is a kingfisher, which is very cute. And I drew one of these for my Birds Can Fly project. And I'm just going to give you a quick, we're not going to go into the minute detail of how complicated this is, because it is quite complicated, but I'm going to just give you a few tips on how to draw a bird. So if you wanted to draw it from a book like I've just shown you, you can, or a photograph, which I'm going to bring in now with the post-production magic. So what the thing to do really is to look at find an image of a bird. It can be any bird you like. So I've drawn all of these birds, and what I do is I find an image online, the most detailed image I can find, because then I find that you're looking at the detail of the feathers and the structure of the feathers, and it makes it a lot more clear. Sometimes you don't quite know what you're looking at. You end up making things up, and that's where mistakes can happen. But what we're going to do, which is what I'm recommending to you, is to get the image and turn it upside down, because our tendency is to look at something and then read it in a very particular way and not think about the shapes. So what I'm now trying to do is trick my brain into not seeing a kingfisher, but seeing a series of shapes. I'm going to start looking at the shapes I'm looking at, so I can see in the body is a sort of an oval rectangle shape at a slight angle, and that's the big orange bit there. And I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, okay, so, and I'm sort of looking at the page. I'm going to go quite small this time. So I'm looking at this shape here. I don't know how this will work on the video thing, but anyway, I'm looking at the shape of the body, and I'm going to do a sort of a shape like this, and I'm not thinking about the fact that it's a bird. I'm just thinking about the shape. There's another orange bit here, and then there's a shape here, there's a shape here, and I'm looking at this upside down because I don't want to think too much about the fact that this is a kingfisher. I just want to think about the shape. So you see there's a shape there, and then there's that other white bit that comes out here. So I'm always looking at the shape. So then I see there's a big turquoise lump, and that's almost like a leaf. It's almost like it's like an extended curved sort of circle. And I'm always looking at this shape compared to this shape and compared to this shape. So then I'm doing that shape here with the things, and there's another shape here that's almost like a funny little shape. Then here I see that's like a triangular shape, and I'm just going to do this quite loosely. So I'm not thinking about this being a kingfisher. I'm really even though it's bad that I keep calling it kingfisher because that reminds me. Then we've got the triangle here, and then there's another triangle here. Now I'm seeing there's a bit of a mistake here, so that's okay, because the shape's a bit funny. So I'm doing this, and then I'm doing this other shape here, which is this white pale shape, and then I'm seeing another sort of triangular shape, which is the orange bit, which is straight here, that goes round there, and this connects to this white shape here, and then there's another triangle here, which I know that goes to the head, but look at the shape of it. You can start breaking it up, because then there's another sort of shape here, and another. You can see that this goes to here, where we imagine is the head, and this is a shape that goes around like that, and like this, And this does not look good, but don't think about that. Think about the shapes you're drawing. And so then we have, in this area, we know that it's a beak, but we mustn't say that because we're just looking at this shape, because there's that triangle, this thin bit here, then there's another triangle that comes up here, that goes up to here, and then there's another shape here which is round like that. And then as you get into the detail, you can begin to break up the other bits of the shape. So you see here, there's a line, and then there's another sort of rectangle here, and then there's another bit here that's round. And then we know that this is the eye, but I'm not saying that. I'm just seeing that there's a shape here. There's another sort of circular shape here. And then we kind of go, okay, so we've got this will be turquoise, that will be orange, that will be turquoise, that will be white, and this will be orange. So then now I'm sort of looking at the outside, this area here, looking at what shape that is. So I see that that angle isn't quite right. This is where we use a rubber, just to kind of make it clear in my head. So this is fine to use a rubber at this point, because we're still not really drawing a bird, we're drawing shapes. And it looks not good at the moment. And then so we're seeing, remember we're looking at this shape, so that goes around there, and then that comes out here. So then we kind of, now I'm beginning to think, okay, so we've got this here, and the eyes actually, so that's a bit further along. And this is how you basically draw anything, by looking at the different shapes. And we see that this joins up here with the shapes. So then I'm looking at this shape, and that's actually a bit of a funny angle. So then we go here, that's a shape here. I'm looking, trying to combine this area, which I know is the object I'm drawing, and this area, which is the space around it. But this is very tricky, because I'm trying to focus on the shapes. Now, upside down, this does not look good, because I can tell vaguely that it's a kingfisher. Okay, so then we have, that shape's a bit funny still, so this angle might be slightly off. Maybe that's like that. I'm liking the feet. That should go to the edge here, and these, the feet, I know they're feet, but all I can see is, it looks a bit like a carrot. And then you go here, like this, and then that, and then there's another carrot over here. And we've got some things there, so, and that's coming out here, and we're seeing a shape here, and here, this might help with this area, so we can see that that's, and then we can see some big green stuff over here. So then we can sort of see, now this comes the moment where you go, okay, how have I done? Because you now turn the drawing and the picture round. So you can start to see where I've made mistakes and where I've got it right. So I can see that the head is about right, but I can just sort of correct this angle. I think the head, actually the feet might be slightly in the wrong place. But so this is when I kind of correct any mistakes I've made. And then I start drawing, tidying up any mess and blending it together. And still I'm sort of going, okay, so I think I know what I'm doing. So then I start getting rid of bits that I don't think I need anymore. So this is, apologies for any wobble. I know that this is roughly right. I know that this is not really necessary anymore. I think this looks a bit too long for me, but it is quite wide and long. Don't worry too much about the mistakes around here. So then what I would do at this point is I can see that the outside is actually right, but this is where we're going, and the beak is here. So we're just sort of tidying it up at this point. And then you can start doing, I like to get the eye in quite early so then I know the personality of what I'm working with. So now you're beginning to see that this is the shape that you're working with, and you can start. I'm being very quick here, I wouldn't normally be this speedy. And then what I also like to do is squint. Just do that with my eyes so I can see the tones of what I'm drawing. This bit I can see already is annoying me, so I just sort of tidy this bit up. And then we know that the beak. Okay, so that's almost the basics. And there's a bit here. I've got the white going on here. So I'm using the rubber as well to almost draw with the rubber. And I don't get too worried about all of this business because then I can, all the detail comes in later. So then, this is pretty much it for the sketch. At this point, then I would go in with the pen and I would start looking at the feather details that we've done before. On this image, if I zoom in, you can't really see much of the detail. You can maybe see some around the face, but that helps me then draw the details first. And once I've mapped out what I'm drawing and what I'm looking at, I can then kind of carry on. So that is how I do the basics. Now I'll show you what I did with the Kingfisher that I actually drew for the project. Okay, here, I'll use the magic of post-production to bring it in. This is a speeded up drawing. I think it takes 20 seconds. Here we go. I'll play some music too. So there is the drawing, and that takes me 4 or 5 hours to do all of that detail. You don't necessarily need to do all of that, but I just love the detail of these things. So that's completely up to you. Now, the silly thing, I started thinking about the birds I'd drawn, and then I thought it might be fun for me to wear the colours of the birds I've drawn. And I did a kingfisher the other day. Here's the drawing and me dressed as the kingfisher. And you can see that I've put some makeup on my face just to reference the colours. And I'm wearing an orange t-shirt and a turquoise shirt and then a sort of darker blue jacket. So I took a photograph of myself as the birds I've drawn, and I tried to kind of capture some of the mood. Here's me doing a bald eagle, looking all moody, and a flamingo with referencing the shape of the neck with my arm, and doing all those silly things. It's super fun to do. You can use your dad's phone or your own phone if you've got a phone, or your mum's phone, any phone that is available. You can do a self-portrait like that, or get your friends to help. Do it as a group. You know, you can do anything you like. So the mission, should you choose to accept it, is to find a bird you like. It might be a bird in your garden. It might be a bird that you just love that you found in a book. Find it, copy it, practice, colour it in, and then take a picture of yourself dressed up as it. You can wear makeup like I did or not, it doesn't matter. I think makeup doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl. You can wear whatever you like on your face, in my opinion. And so wear some makeup maybe, or face paint. Maybe you've got some face painters in the family, and it is really silly, and I've had loads of fun doing it, and hopefully you will too. And I think, you know, it's pretty easy to do. The brighter the bird you draw, the more colours you can wear. Birds of paradise are amazing. I think the brightest one I've done is pretty much a kingfisher. Here's the vulture I did the other day. So, and that's with more makeup. I'm sort of playing around with makeup because it's fun. Why not? Anyway, I think that's about it. Thank you so much. So, You've learned a bit about drawing. You've learned a bit about feathers. You've learned a bit about birds. And you've learned a bit about dressing up as the birds you draw. It's just a fun project because birds can fly. Thank you so much. Goodbye.